Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
from the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I am Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and of course around the world on the Internet. And joining me today is my very good friend and co-host each and every Thursday, Sharon Engel. Sharon, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Oh, it's great to be back on the radio after a weekend at CPAC, isn't it, Rick?
Well, it was fun down at CPAC. We got to meet a lot of interesting people. Just about the entire crew from the Conservative Commandos Radio Show was down there, and we had a lot of fun. It was a very interesting and fun weekend.
Yes, it was. I had a great time talking to all the guests that we had down there. In fact, we're going to have those guests featured on our show today.
Yeah, we're going to be running some of the interviews recorded down at CPAC, and Glo Smith, a young lady from Florida who's running for Congress, will be playing her interview. Also, Willis Lee and Congresswoman Sandy Adams, who served in the United States House of Representatives. She was one of the Tea Party members that shook Washington in 2010 and took office. And also, we're going to play our very special interview with Dr. Ben Carson.
Well, it was a great lineup there when we were at CPAC, and we had, of course, a choice of just a plethora of good candidates, issues-oriented folks, and also people that are now serving in office. So it should be a good show today. I'm looking forward to hearing those interviews. You know, doing the interview and listening to the interview are two different things.
Oh, I totally agree. You know, when we're doing the interview, we're thinking of being in tune and asking the right questions. But I always like to listen to the interview later to really absorb, and it may sound a little strange to say this, but to really absorb what our guests say.
That's right. That's right. And we can do that. We have been posting our interviews up on the Internet on our website so that people can go back and listen to those over and over again, because some of them are just timeless, Rick. You know, the issues remain the same. Mm-hmm. Obama has done nothing but stagnate our economy, stagnate our Constitution, really, and stagnate the office of the president. And because of that, we can't see many things that have really gone forward in our country. A lot of it has truly taken a step back.
Well, Sharon, very interesting you should mention that, because there was an article on the web today that the House is backing a bill to sue Barack Obama over laws. And it's casting Barack Obama as a president run amok. The House voted on Wednesday for a bill that would expedite congressional lawsuits against the chief executive for failure to enforce federal laws. The vote was 233 to 181 in the Republican-held House as GOP lawmakers excused Obama for multiple charges in his 4-year-old health care law, steps that he has taken to allow young immigrants to remain in the United States, and the administration's resistance to defend the federal law banning gay marriage. In other words, Sharon, the House is finally going to start to hold Barack Obama accountable for not upholding his duties as the president and upholding his oath of office.
And I have to say, it's about time. As you said, finally they're doing something. Well, it's about time. And at CPAC, we even talked about what's holding up impeachment, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, the things that they're saying he's done now. This run-amok president truly has run amok in so many ways, and it truly is about time that we hold him accountable, and perhaps, we should clear the air with just filing those articles of impeachment and get some kind of hearing going on all of the things that we know have gone wrong during this administration. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the IRS scandal, the NSA scandal, the Obamacare scandal. It just goes on and on and on infinitum.
I totally agree. And in this article, it talks about under the bill, the House or Senate would have the fast track for any civil lawsuits against Barack Obama if that president, quote, failed to meet the requirement of Article 2, Section 3, Clause 17 of the Constitution of the United States to take care that a law be faithfully executed. Faithfully executed. And that's what he has done. He is derelict in his duty, Sharon, by not faithfully executing the laws and the Constitution of the United States.
And what is the consequence of that, Rick? That's, we need to go the one step further. When you've broken the law, then what's the consequence of breaking the law?
Well, I think the consequence of breaking the law would be an impeachment. However, I don't think that'll ever happen. I don't think there's guts in the House of Representatives to bring an impeachment against Barack Obama. And surely there's probably not the votes in the Senate to find him guilty. Anyway, I think this may find its way to the Supreme Court.
We may find more courage than we think.
Let's hope so. But by and large, I think that it is going to this is going to find its way to the Supreme Court. And another thing I saw in the news, it's kind of relating to this, Sharon, is that our good friend Louis Gohmert said Republicans do not have enough of a voice under John Bonner. Texas Republican Louis Gohmert accused House Republican leadership of not giving members of the party enough voice. Quote, if I can add to the question, do conservatives have enough voice with the Speaker? I would humbly submit to you that this party does not have enough voice in this leadership. And this is what our friend Congressman Louis Gohmert said on Wednesday. And continuing to quote him, the thing to do would be to decentralize power, give the Speaker one vote on the steering committee and no other appointments that gets votes on the steering committee, and perhaps look at electing the committee chairs instead of anointing them from on high. And Louis Gohmert continued, there are a lot of things that we can do to give more power to everybody that's in Congress instead of just making this centralized stovepipe dictatorship within one party. And that's Louis Gohmert's 2 cents. And I think that there would be a lot of voters out there, Sharon Engel, who would feel the same way. And one other thing I'd like to add about the criticism of John Boehner is that if it wasn't for Tea Party conservatives, Nancy Pelosi not crying John Boehner would be the Speaker of the House. And I think it's time for Boehner to start giving the Tea Party conservative congressmen their due respect.
Well, it's always a problem when you get there to understand that these congressmen feel, if you will, pressured to follow the leader instead of speaking their own minds and representing their constituency, because the leader, Speaker Boehner, does get to say who's going to be the chairman of these committees and who's going to sit on what committees. And so when you have that kind of power, it makes your membership kind of toe the line because they're afraid. But Louis Gohmert is one of those folks that really isn't afraid. He does what his constituency asks him. And actually, he's one of the guys that I follow. If you want to know where your congressman stands. Is he truly a constitutional conservative, or does he lean a little bit too much to the left? Line his votes up with Louis Gohmert and see if he's voting with Louis Gohmert. If he's voting with Louis, he's spot on. If he's not, perhaps you need to think about a different congressman.
Well, I keep saying here in the Conservative Commandos radio show, Sharon, that when I get a little down and think that things in Washington cannot get much worse, I've said here before that not only are conservatives under attack by the Democrats and the liberals, but also by the Rhino Republican Party. So, there you go.
That's right. Well, you know, what I found was kind of interesting. I always like to look on Drudge, see what he's dredged up. Dredged up, I guess, would be more correct. But he has Chris Matthews saying that he's not so sure about the Senate this year. He's bracing for a disappointing November for Democrats and sees little that can be done to change that outcome. He says, quote, it's going to be very hard to hold the Senate. I think the Senate goes. Now, that's Chris Matthews. Remember, he's the one with the thrill up his leg over Obama. Well, the thrill is gone.
The thrill is gone.
The thrill is gone. So it's kind of interesting to see that even the Democrats are very concerned now, and their counterparts in the media very concerned about what may happen in 2014, which should put even the Republicans on notice that the silent majority truly is not silent anymore. They are going to be voting, and they're going to be voting for constitutional conservatives this time.
All right, Sharon, and with that, we're going to take a little break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and of course around the world on the internet. Please don't go away. Right on the other side, we're going to play our interview with Dr. Ben Carson.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Island. Refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day. And you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please go to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org at 10:10 this evening. Or you can hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon by going to vigilantlibertyradio.us. You can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow by going to cprworldwidemedia.com at 5 p.m. So right after today's show, you can go to CPR Worldwide Media and hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. But Sharon, I would now like to play the interview that we did with Dr. Ben Carson. And by the way, Dr. Carson is a retired neurosurgeon who is credited with being the first surgeon to successfully separate conjoined twins joined at the head. In 2008, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George W. Bush. And after delivering a widely publicized speech at the 2013 National Prayer Breakfast, he became a popular figure in the conservative movement, and his views on social issues and on the federal government have been widely cheered by we conservatives. So with that, Sharon Engel, we're going to play that interview.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show, coming to you from the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. And Daria Novak, we do have a very special guest joining us. Please make the introduction.
I'm so excited. I'm not even sure I can do it. I feel like I'm with the most special person that we could have from CPAC, one of the most inspiring leaders that you're going to hear from in America. It needs no more introduction other than to say we are talking with Dr. Ben Carson. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
So what do you think about health care in America?
Well, I think we need it. There's no question about that. Is health care a right? No. Is it a responsibility? Absolutely. Do we have the resources to provide it for people? Absolutely. But we need to provide it in a way that it stays in their hands, in the hands of the healthcare providers, and not in the hands of the government.
What do you think that we can do as American citizens, as activists at CPAC and elsewhere around the country to make that happen, to change the negative atmosphere regarding health care?
Get involved with Save Our Healthcare. We're going to be providing excellent alternatives, and we want enough signatures so that Congress has to pay attention. They have to recognize that we have to seriously look at these alternatives, and we have to go through the Congressional Budget Office. We have to do the whole 9 yards, and we will show that it's much less expensive and that it's much more efficient, rather than just swallow hook, line, and sinker that this is the only way we can go.
Do you think that if we can reform health care in a positive way, we'll increase employment in this country?
Oh, without question. Some of the suggestions that will be on there greatly reduce the need for employers to spend money on health care. They will spend a fraction of what they spend now, and that will open them up to being able to hire more people.
Dr. Carson, it's Sharon Engel, and I'm so pleased that you're here at CPAC.
Yes.
But what I've noticed is more and more doctors, especially since Obamacare, have gotten involved in the political scene there. This is not really your environment, so tell me, why have you jumped into politics? Is it Obamacare, or do you have other reasons that you're here?
Well, I had no intention of getting into politics. But after the National Prayer Breakfast last year, I was sort of dragged into it, quite frankly. But as more and more people have talked to me, I realized that we have to awaken the American people. This is vital for those who come behind us, and we can't just turn our backs and lead comfortable lives, which I could do very easily right now, but I couldn't do it in peace.
Doctor, if I could ask, since that prayer breakfast, what is your reaction to the attention that got and you have gotten since that time?
Well, it's a little astonishing. Every place we go, I mean, just huge crowds. And I realize that it's not so much me as it is what I represent. What I represent is common sense. And there is a role for common sense in our country. It's been neglected for a long time.
Well, Dr. Carson, I know you're a very busy man. You got to go. We want to thank you for joining us on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, and we hope you'll join us again.
I will.
And
thank you very much.
Can you give us the website for your petition? Can you give us the website where people can go?
They can go to saveourhealthcare.org.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and that was the interview that Daria Novak, Sharon Engel, and I myself did with Dr. Ben Carson down at CPAC. And Sharon, a couple of very interesting things he said in there, that health care is not a right but a responsibility. And that also talking about his thrust into media attention, and he said he had no plans of getting involved in politics, but he was just thrust into it, and that he thinks that why people have responded to him is that he represents common sense.
Well, I was kind of hoping that he would mention to us his draft Ben Carson for president. There is a campaign out there headed by Vernon Robinson, and we saw him at CPAC. Vernon was there just going through the crowd and really soliciting folks to help him with this draft Ben Carson effort. But he didn't mention that. So when I asked the political question, I was hoping he would get to the more political answer, which is, are you available to run for president, or are we just barking up the wrong tree?
Well, Sharon, I kind of believe that the answer to that would be yes, he's considering it, or else he would not have been at CPAC. And, the thing that, as I said, the thing that really impressed me about him is when he said he had no intentions of getting involved in leadership, but yet he is now taking a leadership role. And to me, that's truly what a leader is. Someone who sees a need and decides that they're there to fill it.
I believe that most people, when they're really thinking about what the country needs, they're not thinking the country needs me to run for office. That's my case as well. That wasn't where I was headed when I started looking at what's going on in the government and how it was really starting to hurt me as an individual. And I think that's how many people are now viewing their government these days, is how can I get involved, because it's starting to hurt me, and if I don't get involved, it may be too late.
Well, let's hope it isn't too late. Hey, Sharon, we're going to take a little break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and around the world on the Internet with our new Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Right on the other side, we're going to be playing an interview that we did with Glo Smith, who is a candidate for Congress from the state of Florida. Please don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please go to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org at 10:10 this evening. You could also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at vigilantlibertyradio.us and also at 5 o'clock right when we go off the air. Today you can hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show by going to cprworldwidemedia.com. Sharon, well, we were down at CPAC. We did have many opportunities to interview many people who are running for office. Many of those are running for the U.S. Congress, and several of them were black conservatives, which was really nice to know that there are black conservatives. And one of them was Glo Smith from the state of Florida. So with that, Sharon Engel, we'll play that interview.
Glo Smith is involved in the First Baptist Church Middle School Ministry. Glo's education includes a MBA. She's been married 29 years to Michael, a graduate of the College of Engineering, and she has a heart for at-risk youth. We're talking today with Glo Smith. She's running for Congress in Florida. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Glo Smith.
Welcome. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm honored to be here. And I got to tell you a real quick story. My husband, Michael, who I've been married to for 29 years, a law enforcement officer. Our son, Michael Jr., is the graduate from okay. from Florida.
Glo, I want you to talk just a little bit about politics, because from your bio, it sounds like you're a minister. You're not. Politics was like the furthest thing from your mind. So let's talk about how did you get from there to here?
Well, actually, it's always been a part of me. I was blessed to have a great stepfather who was never a citizen of this country, but if he was, he would have been an American citizen that was a Republican. He was from Trinidad and Tobago. And so my stepfather came into my life when my mother was raising 17 of us, and that was between her 6 children, 2 cousins, and her siblings, all of her siblings. So my stepfather came into our lives, and he was a Republican. He was an entrepreneur. He loved this country, and he loved the Constitution. Next to our Bible was a copy of the Constitution. And honestly, out of all the people in our house, I was the only one who heard the Republican principles and believed in them. And that's how I became the only Republican in my family.
And it is kind of astonishing things sometimes when we think about it. But there were Republicans long back in our history. In fact, I call myself a Republican. So we know that since the Civil War, since we've had the right to vote, we've had Republicans that were of color.
That's right.
And you're now running in Florida. Tell us about that race.
Wow. Well, I'm running in Florida's 5th District against Congresswoman Corrine Brown. This district is over 60% Democrats. Now, I get an advantage because 99% of my family. And most people will recognize it because it's one of the most recognized gerrymandered districts in this country. It encompasses county, runs from Jacksonville to Orlando. Huge district. Product with this district. What I didn't tell you was my stepfather coming into my life, my mother and I and my siblings, we all lived in the projects. That's where I was born. By the time my mom was 20 years old, she had me, and I was her 5th child. By the time she was 21, she had her 6th child, and my biological father walked out and left us. So we were there in the projects, depending on government programs, depending on commodities to make ends meet. My mother also worked at the same time. But I share that story because I want people in the district to know where I came from and who I am, that I have not always had it easy. So in this population, a lot of the people receive entitlement programs, and I want them to hear my story and be empowered to know that I can come from that to this.
Well, that's right. And, getting back to Frederick Douglass, my hero, right. He came from below poverty, right? Slavery, right. As a 47%er. And I want you to just talk a little bit about that 47%er, because Frederick Douglass, when he was 16, his slave master said to him, "Freddie, you don't need to worry about your future. I'll take care of you." And he said, "That's when I wanted to be a free man." Right. So talk about what the difference is between entitlements and being truly free. And what the Republican message, I guess, is to those who are living in those projects.
Right. You know what's interesting is when I'm talking one-on-one with the constituents, their ideology, their principles, and their value align with the Republican Party, but they're sold out to the Democrats. So our campaign is really about education. You see, if we can educate people, we can empower them. We can empower them and we can help them become better citizens. They can get a job and they can take care of their families, right? They're not waiting for government handouts like this current administration and Corrine Brown wants us to believe they are. They understand the value of having their own jobs and taking care of their own families. So when we're talking about things that are true to them and that are real to them. Every day they're struggling. You know, I have found it so funny that the Democrats have been talking about Obamacare. Well, what's sad is a lot of the people in my district can't even qualify because they don't meet that minimum income requirement. How sad is that, right? Not to mention the jobs that have been lost. Well, we don't have them in the first place in this district, but it's gotten even worse under Obamacare. So we're struggling, and we're telling them that you can do so much better. These entitlement programs were never designed to help us. They were designed to destroy the black family and to destroy our families. And I say that because the majority of the district is black Americans, right? And so we talk about the difference between entitlement programs and being empowered and what that difference is. And we talk about the Frederick Douglass. And as a matter of fact, K. Carl Smith, who goes around the country teaching Frederick Douglass methodology, was in Jacksonville on the 6th, and I was here, so I wasn't able to go to that, but we were able to send some of our volunteers to that training. It's important that they know the history of the Republican Party, and it's important that they know that these entitlement programs have caused us, honestly, to be in bondage, and it's to buy our vote. And, you know, I have to tell this story real quick. I love chocolate, and I like to talk about chocolate. I like chocolate cake. I can honestly eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I can have it all the time. Well, this current administration and people like Corrine Brown, they'll give me all the chocolate I want anytime I want, knowing it's bad for me. But they'll never give me the recipe because once they do, I become a threat.
Ooh,
Not only will I take that recipe and modify it, but I'm going to bake my own cake, and I won't need them anymore, right? Not only that, I'm going to share that recipe with my constituents, and I'm going to empower them to bake their own cakes and to modify the recipe, and then I'm going to teach them how to use the recipe to make money.
John Mosley here. Are you telling that to the voters in Florida?
Every day, John. It's important that they know that. That's a concept they can understand. It's a threat to be educated. Not only to be educated, but it's a threat to stand for something and to stand up and say, I want the recipe. I don't want the chocolate cake. I can bake my own cake. Because, you know, next to chocolate, I happen to love butter. So if they give me that recipe, I just might throw a little bit of extra butter in there, right? So I become creative, and I become even more empowered because I'm going to take that recipe and I'm going to turn it into things that they never knew I could or thought I could.
Well, isn't that the American dream,
That is
too,
the American
Glo?
dream. It is.
It is.
So now when you go to Washington, and I can see you going to Washington, what are you going to do for your district? What is it that you want to do?
You know what? The most important lesson is to listen and learn. And what I've learned from them is they want jobs. You know, Florida is a military state, and we're talking about the fact that this current administration have cut military spending. So our veterans are suffering. The people we promised that we would take care of after they've done their jobs for us, we are now backstabbing them, literally doing that. We're growing government by leaps and bounds, but we're cutting federal spending when it comes to military. So what I want to do when I go to Washington is not only bring economic development back to our state, but back to our country. I want people to understand that we need jobs, because if we get jobs and they have money, all the other issues are going to take care of themselves. And that's important, right? If you got a job and you could take care of your family, you're not going to need the government.
We're talking with Glo Smith. She's running for Congress in Florida here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Glo, we want to know, in this United States, we're not in Florida. We broadcast all over the United States on the internet. We want to know how we can help Glo Smith, or are we just out here saying go, Glo, go?
Oh, no.
Or is there something that we can really do from the rest of the United States to say, Glo, we want to be on your team?
Yes, you can go to my website at www.gloforcongress.com. Not only can you go there, but when you go there, please consider hitting that donate button. We must raise money. If you want to help me unseat and retire Congresswoman Corrine Brown, I need your help from all over this country.
You know, if I could comment on that, Sharon Engel and Glo Smith, You know, there's a lot of people listening, and I think you need to think about the fact that not everybody can run. Not everybody wants to run. Not everybody can take their time out of it. They really need to think about participating. And I know this sounds a little bit like, NPR Pledge Week, but there's really a truth to this, that if you're not going to run yourself, we have a lot of people come on the show. What can you do? Don't just listen, because the country, if you look at what's going on in this country, it's going to take all of us. It's not going to be easy. And so I hope that people out there are saying, I'm not running. What can I do to be a part of those who are running? And again, what's the website?
It's www.glowforcongress.com. And please go to our website and check us out.
Spell GLOW for us, because, sometimes on radio we're not sure what we're hearing. So spell it out for us.
Okay, and it's just GLOFORCONGRESS.com.
And a little trick, if I could say, try on the internet to get all the various spellings and have them all go to the same place in case someone spells it wrong.
You're right. 'Cause so many people put in GLOW.
Right.
So, but thank you guys so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet you.
Can I ask you too? What's the schedule here? You have? Are you running for the primary? Do you have any opposition in the primary?
I do. I have a young lady that's out of Orlando that's running, and I will have a primary. But, we're working hard. I'm running as if I'm getting ready for a general without taking the primary for granted.
So what's your timetable?
My timetable is, here's the first thing, is I have to finish getting my petition signed by the end of this month. We have to collect a little over $4,000 or pay a whopping $10,000 filing fee.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our timetable. And right after that, we've been in every county every single day. We try to hit 3 counties every day on the ground. Our strategy is really grassroots. We're knocking on doors and we're talking to people. And what's interesting is we've gotten really good feedback from Democrats. They are ready for a change, and that's been so exciting.
So we need our listeners to sign your petition, too.
Well, only if they're in Florida in District 5, yes. And
Well,
they can contact me. My contact information is on the website.
But what I'm also hearing is that GLOW may need $10,000.
That's right.
That's only $10 from 1,000 of our listeners. So you might be one of those listeners that's saying, GLOW just touched my heart. I want to be part of GLOW's team. So just think about that. She needs about $10 from.
And that's a real tangible goal and project.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you guys so much. And, if you guys would pray for our campaign and pray for our district, we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm ready to do it. So thank you so much.
Now you're mentioning prayer. Tell us about your ministry, because we started kind of there, and you went straight to politics. You didn't go backward and say, well, this is my ministry. So I know it must have something to do with kids, because you love them.
It does. Coming from a large family, just in Jacksonville alone, there's probably over 200 family members that are very close, within a 3-mile radius of each other. So I've always loved children. Part of my background is in social services. I've worked from everything from the Department of Children and Families to the community-based agency, just providing services for children in the child welfare system. I coordinated all these mental health services for these children that were just really suffering in these families. But, my whole campaign, if you look at it, it is so important that it aligns with the Word of God. If it had not been for here, I would not be here. And it's funny, as I look back over the last 30 years, I can see strategically where He has placed me in places, not only with my career, but being able to go back to school as an adult and get an education. But more importantly, I had the honor of serving under the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Florida, Jennifer Carroll, which was a great privilege for me. And shortly after she resigned, I stayed on with the Governor Scott, and with his administration through the last legislative session, just really doing some grassroots work for him. That's kind of was where I realized right after that it was time for me to step out, come from behind the scenes, and really step up and be a statesman and start making a difference. Not complaining about what's wrong, but thinking about what's right and not allowing the things that have not worked to continue going on. So that's where I am. And my husband and I, we've been at the same church, First Baptist, for the last 30 years, and we've served in everything from high school ministry. Right now we're in middle school ministry, and that's where our heartbeat is.
Don't you love it how she used the word to serve? Instead of what she's going to get out of office, she wants to serve other people and has a history of it. I wish you would be my representative.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll probably take you in Florida.
In Connecticut, we could use you, believe me.
I'm sure there's some people just like me there, so thank you.
Well, we've been talking with GLOW Smith. She's running for Congress in Florida, and you've been listening to Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
All right, there you go, Sharon Engel. That is our interview that we did with GLOW Smith. She is a black conservative Republican running for Congress in Florida. And check out her website, Chloe Smith. And with that, we're going to take a break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and of course around the world on the internet. And don't go away. On the other side, we'll have another great interview for you with Willis Lee, who's a member of the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. Don't go away. Sharon Engel and I will be right back.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, fellow patriots. Welcome back once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and around the world on the internet, on our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, check out our websites, www.conservativecommandosradioshow.com and www.ccrshow.com. Two different sites, different information on each one of them. So Sharon Engel, while we were down at CPAC, we met an awful lot of people who were in campaigns to secure a seat in the House of Representatives. Were there any others that stuck in your mind, Sharon Angle?
Well, I think the thing that really stuck in my mind was how many young people were there with a purpose. They didn't just come to see what was happening. They were there to make it happen. And we got some interviews with them, of course. I also was really impressed by the number of black candidates that were there, as well as just black conservatives and Hispanic conservatives. You know, we've been told by the left that that those folks, especially Harry Reid, says that, you know, no self-respecting Hispanic can be a Republican. Well, you know, it's just not true. We have values and principles. Our constitutional principles are held by every American, no matter where they come from or what nationality they are inheriting from. So it was just really great to see the melting pot, if you will, right there in CPAC before our eyes. And I know we got more of those good interviews with folks that are running. Even our own J.D. Manier was there, and he's running for Congress. So I guess I'm pretty impressed with him.
Yep. And I'll take it one step further, Sharon. I don't know how any self-respecting person can be a member of the Democrat Party. After all, it was the Democrat Party that created the Ku Klux Klan. It was the Democrat Party that tried to stop voting rights acts in this country. So,
that's exactly the message that the Frederick Douglass Republicans have been putting forward with K. Carl Smith, and we've had him on our show many times. And when you talk to K. Carl Smith, he talks exactly about that, the conflict between our values and the Democrat Party's principles. And at some point, those people of character and of true principles have to say, you know, I don't belong in this party anymore, just like Elbert Guillory did in Louisiana.
Well, I think
that's something that we should look forward to seeing more and more of. Those people that just can't stay within the in the Democrat Party anymore. I was actually looking at an article after the special election in Florida that talks about how the Democrats are now trying to figure out where they stand on Obamacare, because obviously that was a referendum on Obamacare, and they are now having to choose up sides, if you will, and they're just pretty much at a loss on how to message this out. Very, very different from the Democrats that we've seen in pre-election year, previous election years, where the message is everybody gets in, they all say the same message. Well, now they've got 2 or 3 different messages going. You know, there's some that are criticizing Obamacare. There are some that are saying that it hasn't gone far enough, and there's others that are saying we got to get out of it. So it's just kind of interesting to see their message. They can't align it anymore.
Actually, Sharon, I think the Democrat Party is morally bankrupt. It is a party of trying to uphold abortion. It's a party that is pushing this Obamacare down our throats. It is a party where, and on the other side perhaps we'll have time, with all the problems that are going on in this country, with all the things that need to be straightened out, it seems to me that their priorities are the gay agenda. So that's why I say it's a morally bankrupt party.
Well, there are on so many levels. You know, you just mentioned one, but what about their killing of innocent children in the womb? You know,
well, that's abortion. That 55 million babies have been killed by abortion, and this is what the Democrat Party supports.
And we can go on, but I think that the thing that is actually starting to touch the American public now is that the government wants to run their health care insurance, and it's hurting Americans at every level. And they're finally starting to say enough is enough.
All right, Sharon, we are up against another break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you from the CCRS studios. You can hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening by going to www.cprworldwidemedia.com. You could also hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right when we go off the air, by going to I made a mistake. 10:10 this evening, it's patriotsride.org. At 5 this evening, it's cprworldwidemedia.com. You could also hear a rebroadcast today's show tomorrow at vigilantlibertyradio.us.
What does it take
Be right
to
back.
be the leader in production systems technology, to be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, and our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And Sharon, while we were down at CPAC, we had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Willis Lee, who is associated with the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, who you are the president of. What else could you tell us about Willis before we start to play the interview?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about Willis is that this isn't his first time to serve the country. Willis has actually served 22 years in the military, and he's received the Defense Superior Service Medal for contributions to national operations, the Bronze Star Medal for combat performance with the 24th Infantry Division during Operation Desert Storm, and the Legion of Merit for combating terrorism in Europe. So we're going to be interviewing what I consider to be a war hero, as well as someone who's still thinking about his country and serving his country there in Hawaii, probably one of the most liberal states in the Union. And yet Willis is a Republican and has served in many, many ways during his time for the Republican Party, in fact, and yet he has chosen to be a representative for the National Federation of Republican Assemblies along with me, and that comes from just understanding what the principles of true Republicans are. As Reagan said, the Republican Assemblies are the conscience of the Republican Party. So it was really great to see Willis come all the way in from Honolulu to participate in CPAC, and we wanted to get him on and just talk a little bit about what he's been doing there in Hawaii.
All right, with that, we'll play the interview.
This is Sharon Engel with Rick Trader and my co-host J.D. Manier here at Conservative Commandos Radio Show, broadcasting live from CPAC and also from WNJC out of downtown Philadelphia and across the internet. We're here today with Willis Lee, who's the National Director for the Hawaii Republican Assembly. He's also the Vice President for the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, Western Region, and he just got appointed to the ACU Board of Directors. So welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show, Willis Lee.
Well, thank you, Sharon. JD, a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you having me on. And that's the ACU Foundation. We're in charge of education and outreach for the ACU, so that's our role in this. But part of that is the CPAC conference, and we've enjoyed it. It's been a great weekend so far, so thanks for having me on, and thanks for being here.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about the Republican Assembly. As the president of the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, we always camp out right on Reagan's doorstep a little bit, where he said, we are the conscience of the Republican Party. Tell us what that means in Hawaii.
Well, for Hawaiian, it goes across the board. We have a huge Democrat issue in Hawaii. There's just too many of them. And it shows in all of our government policies and in the culture out there. What we've done with the Republican Assembly in Hawaii is to stand up conservatives, bring them back to participate in the process, hold Democrats accountable, but we spend a lot of time holding Republicans accountable also. And I think that's one of the roles for the Assembly nationwide. We hold the liberals accountable, but we also hold the Republicans accountable when they start to go off course.
Tell us about the big rally that you had at the State House in Honolulu just this past year over an issue that is really dear to social conservatives' hearts. So talk to us about that rally.
Well, it's crucial, and this rally, which I'll explain in a second, points out the overriding reason why we cannot shy away from what the liberals want to call social issues, what I contend are just plain old issues. Hawaii became the 15th state to pass same-sex marriage, and they did that through a legislative special session. They refused to put it on the ballot, let the voters vote, because they know, as all of us do, the direction that'll take, and we'll vote it down. But overwhelmingly, it passed in the legislature. Now, I don't blame that on Democrats. I blame that on the Republicans and conservatives for taking our eye off the ball and not making sure that we had the right legislators, the legislators who held our values, opposing same-sex marriage, opposing homosexual marriage, in office. And so we lost that vote. So in one rally, we had 10,000 people show up, and that's just on the island of Oahu. We had 4,000 sign up to give testimony. 1,500 of them were actually allowed to give testimony, 90% opposing homosexual marriage.
And so when we think of Hawaii, we often think about what's going on there with the Native Hawaiian population wanting to cede from the Union, and we often think about how liberal that state is, probably the most liberal state in the Union in some regards. So you're telling me that you were able to get 10,000 conservatives out to really say we don't want same-sex marriage.
Well, on this issue, the Hawaii people are galvanized, and they are upset, as they should be, and they came out. Now, the key for our movement, the key for conservatives, is to keep them involved, get them out to vote, run good conservatives for office across the board, not just Congress, not just Senate, but we have to start looking at our Board of Education, our county offices, within our districts, and everywhere else that we're electing officials, because that's making a difference. And then, as you both know, that the biggest issue with executives being elected is they're the people appointing the judges, and we need to make a difference on the judicial side of it also.
Well, I know my friend here, J.D. Manier, and also with the Indiana Republican Assembly, has decided he's going to run for Congress. So, J.D., I want you to talk to Willis about how we don't have to sacrifice our principles in order to run good campaigns and win.
Well, that's true. We just tell the people the facts. Abraham Lincoln said 150 years ago, let the people know the facts, the nation will be free. And we're able to do that here on the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon and I and our other co-hosts and talking with you. But this whole CPAC is a great energy. We just had Ben Carson here just about an hour ago. And, I mean, the entourage packing this hall was enormous. But we don't have to compromise. And Nancy Pelosi once said about the health care bill, it was the most open process ever. We don't think so. We're very transparent. I'm going to turn the ball back to you, though. In terms of activism, in what ways do the Republican assemblies there in Hawaii, how do they get the vote out? How do they educate? Go ahead and describe that a little bit.
Well, J.D., let me come to that in a second, but let me point out, and I've heard it on stage a lot this week, winning without principle is losing. I'm ready to put out our principles and let the American people decide. I'm willing to let the voters decide. But to simply run candidates who we think can win by being Democratic or being liberal doesn't do anything for America. It doesn't do anything for the culture of America or the fabric of America. So in that aspect, I agree with you. We can run good candidates who run on principle, and we can win. In Hawaii, it turns into, right now, we're at the point of bringing conservatives back to participate. We went through 12 years of a very strong Republican governor who ran relatively liberally and made that her platform. Well, in our case, a lot of the conservatives just quit participating. The Assembly is working to bring them back to participate. Now, if we can keep our liberal Republicans, what they want to call moderates, involved and bring our conservatives back, we'll win races.
Well, and you bring energy. No question about it. People are passionate about the Constitution and defending this nation's principles, its founding documents, and of course they're being shredded in Washington. And you guys are a few miles away from D.C., I take it. But no, it's something that when you get 10,000 people, I get your emails too, and I mean, you get dynamic speakers for dinners. You can talk a little bit more, but we're extremely proud of what you've done in just about a year's time.
I was going to ask, Willis, tell us how you started a Republican Assembly in that very liberal state of Hawaii, and it took you less than just talk about how that takes you less than a year and how we need more chapters in every state.
Well, none of this is hard, but it is very time-consuming, and that's across the board. We're trying to activate our activists. In Hawaii, last May we had our convention. We contend that we're the largest and fastest-growing assembly in the nation, but I'm actually absolutely pleased, Sharon, with your leadership, with involvement, JD. We're standing up assembly chapters in Alaska. We're doing another one in Nevada. This is spreading across America as conservatives get back involved. And one of the reasons is something like this conference. There's an energy that we get here that we take back out to our states, to our communities, that you don't feel anywhere else. So we've been fortunate. We did, last month, we had our inaugural Reagan birthday dinner, and Al Cardenas here from the ACU was our keynote speaker, and they understand the importance. He took the time the month before CPAC to fly to Hawaii to do the dinner with conservatives in Hawaii.
And we also need to be thinking about issues. I know lots of the issues that have been flowing around here at CPAC are some of the same issues that we have on our agenda at the National Federation for Republican Assemblies. I'm going to put a plug in here for our website, www.republicanassemblies.org. And if you want to be a part of the Republican Assemblies or think you'd like to have a chapter in your state, just go there and push the button that you'd like to join. So, but our agenda nationally is to undo Obamacare, and we've started this in my home state with initiatives there. Also, we're working on election integrity because everybody wants their vote to be counted, and it also have fair and honest elections. And finally, we're fighting and standing up against Common Core. So, JD, I want you to talk to us just a little bit about the conference that we're going to be having as Republican Assemblies in Indiana, in Indianapolis.
Well, it coincides with the NRA convention, and it's the last weekend of April. And we'll be having a board meeting, but we're inviting the people to look us up. The Republican Assemblies, we have a chapter in Indiana, which I helped start with my wife, and we're growing. And we have momentum on our side, Sharon. The nation has seen too much of the scandals come down this administration, and we're just here to support the Constitution and freedom, limited government. These are the ideals of Jefferson, Washington, and we're just going to have a great rally there. And once again, get on the national website, and we invite people to join us.
Willis, before we go, I'd like you to tell people how we can get a hold of you in Hawaii, because we do have some Hawaii listeners, but also how they can get a hold of you as part of the ACU Foundation. So just kind of talk to us a little bit about how we can get in touch with Willis Lee.
www.hawaiirepublicanassembly.com. And it is the fastest growing. It's an exciting, even our website and our Facebook page are exciting. And here at the ACU, we're at conservative.org, and see what the latest is. This is the movement. This is the direction that we're taking with conservatives to change America.
Thank you so much, Willis Lee, for joining us here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Sharon, JD, thanks.
God bless.
Okay, and we are going to take a little break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 30, and around the world on the internet. And you can hear rebroadcasted of today's show at 10:10 this evening by going to www.patriotsride.org. At 5 p.m., right when we go off the air, please go to cprworldwidemedia.com to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, fellow patriots. Welcome back once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. And Sharon, during that interview with Willis Lee, both he and you made several great points that I jotted down. He noted, run conservatives across the board, not just in congressional elections, but in all levels, going down even to the municipal and school board elections.
That's right. All politics truly is local, and if we don't concentrate on those elections at the local level, it really doesn't do us much good as conservatives because, first of all, those that run at the local level generally go ahead and run for state-level offices and then for Congress. So it is, if you will, a training ground at that local level, but it's also the place where the things that matter to us most get decided. What curriculum your child is going to be using in school, where the money is going to be spent when it comes in from the state budget into your school. How is that money going to be spent? How much will go to the classroom? How much will go to administration? Those are all decisions that are made by local school boards. And who better to have on those school boards than good conservatives who understand the value of the dollar and really understand the importance of reading, writing, and arithmetic. So I always encourage people, when I see them getting politically active, to think about serving on some of these local school boards, local county commissions, city councils, board of supervisors. There's just many, many jobs at the local level that we should be interested in, and that we should be understanding that it's Agenda 21 goes on at the local level. You know, that's where they're going to be deciding if your home gets replaced by a bike path or not.
Yeah, really. I thought you also made several great points by saying winning without principle is really losing, and that winning must be, and that we must win with integrity. And as I was saying earlier, I think that's what has happened to the Democrat Party. They are morally bankrupt, and the things that they are running on are also bankrupt, like the importance of putting the importance of birth control, free birth control, over the security of the country and that of abortion.
That's right. And I think that point was really underlined or emphasized by the ability to get 10,000 people out for a protest against same-sex marriage in Honolulu. When you think about liberal capitals of the nation, you think of Honolulu as one of those, but certainly they're not embracing the liberal agenda at the grassroots level. When you can get 10,000 people out for what we would have called a Tea Party a couple of years ago, this was just an out-and-out protest of a wrong policy at the state level. And yet, as Willis pointed out, they were unwilling to allow the voters to vote. And the reason is because when the voters get the vote, they turn down same-sex marriage overwhelmingly.
Yep, same thing is happening here in New Jersey, that the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, does not want it on the ballot because he knows it will be defeated. Hey, Sharon, we're going to take another break in about 3 minutes, but I was wondering if there was anything else on your radar screen you wanted to get in this week or say something about the National Federation of Republican Assemblies.
Well, certainly we talked a little bit about the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We're in over half the states, and we're always interested in new chapters in every state. So if people are interested in finding out more about the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, they can certainly go to the website, republicanassemblies.org, or they can just go on SharonEngle.com and push contact and say, Sharon, I heard you on the radio. I couldn't remember the website, but I remembered your name. Could you tell me a little bit more about the Republican Assemblies? I'd be more than happy to answer that email and get them pointed in the right direction. As J.D. Manier said, he started the Indiana Republican Assembly, he and his wife, and now they're a thriving Republican Assembly. We need the conscience, as we call ourselves, as Reagan called us. We need that in every state, and it's the conscience that you point out, Rick Trader, that underlines our principles, our morals, and gives us a compass by which to run our candidates by. We don't endorse in every race. We just pick the races where we know there's a good, strong conservative running.
Have you guys made any decisions yet about candidates that you might be supporting?
Thanks for asking. That's why we're going to Indianapolis.
Okay.
That's our endorsing convention this year. In fact, those decisions are being made right now in our states. We are a grassroots up organization. Wherever the grassroots endorse, we endorse that same candidate. So if here in Nevada, the NVRA were to endorse a congressional candidate or even a local school board candidate, that endorsement would go all the way to the state as well as to the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We would put them on as our endorsement, taking the word for our local folks that they know best what goes on at the local level. And so we just endorse what they endorse.
All right. Hey, by the way, I have a couple of names I'd like to throw by you for your consideration. Our good friend Louis Gohmert, Congressman Steve King of Iowa, Congressman Paul Brown down there in Georgia, Congressman Louis Gohmert I mentioned, and keep those folks in mind.
We always keep those folks in mind. In fact, Louis Gohmert, Rafael Cruz, and let's see, I can't remember the other. K. Carl Smith were our speakers at our last convention, and we loved Louis Gohmert. He came in and really inspired the troops, if you will, at the local level. So yeah, we're with you on Louis Gohmert.
By the way, we did have an opportunity to speak with and interview Louis Gohmert down at CPAC, and we will be playing that interview tomorrow here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Hey, Sharon, we're going to take a break, and you're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, and we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station, and around the world on the internet with our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Please don't go away. We're going to be playing the interview that Sharon Engel and myself did with Congresswoman Sandy Adams from Florida. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Hello, I'm Reverend Carl Kelly, and I head up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Indiana. President Obama's attacks on the Constitution continues to be aided and abetted by one of his trusted allies in Congress, ultra-liberal Democrat Andre Carson of Indianapolis, nationally known for his infamous racial rants against the Tea Party. I want to tell you about J.D. Manier. J.D. will be a representative for the people of the 7th District. J.D. Manier is a pro-growth Reagan conservative and is co-host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. He is asking you to join his army of supporters in order to defeat Carson and go to Washington to demand special prosecutors for Benghazi, the IRS, and other scandals. J.D. is interested in what's good for the people of the 7th District, not Nancy Pelosi. He will promote strong economic growth and jobs by getting the government off the backs of the people, voting for tax cuts and slashing regulations. Help elect a pro-life defender of freedom who will strongly support Israel, vote to cut wasteful spending, and battle to repeal Obama's socialist agenda. Log on to ManierForCongress.com and donate today. That's MINIEAR for Congress.com. Paid for and authorized by the J.D. Manier for Congress Committee.
I'm J.D. Manier, candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Indiana District 7, and I approve of this message.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, go to patriotsride.org. At 5 o'clock, right when we go off the air, switch over to CPRWorldwideMedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show. And you could also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Sharon, down at CPAC, we had an opportunity to chat with Congresswoman Sandy Adams. She served in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing Florida's 24th District and that of all of America. As an Air Force veteran, as well as a retired law enforcement officer, Congresswoman Adams has maintained a lifelong commitment in helping members of the armed forces and a continued respect for enforcing our laws. And this is our interview with Congresswoman Sandy Adams. Okay, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, and we are coming to you from the Conservative Political Action Conference in Washington, D.C. And we have a returning guest with us, someone who we enjoyed our relationship with while she was a member of the House of Representatives, former Congresswoman Sandy Adams. Congresswoman, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Great to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, Congresswoman, what is going on now? Since you left the House of Representatives, what is on your radar screen? What are you fighting for?
Well, I will continue to fight for the rights of our citizens, and I truly believe that we have to maintain that fight. So I'm staying engaged with what is happening throughout our nation and our country and back at home in my home state of Florida. And I will continue to be engaged. And one of the issues that I'm here today speaking on is our Second Amendment rights.
Well, we here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show on every show, we say we're brought to our audience by the First Amendment and we're protected by the Second. And our Second Amendment rights are under assault. More and more, unfortunately, we're hearing more politicians coming out that want to restrict people's rights to bear arms.
Well, unfortunately, what they're doing is restricting law-abiding citizens' rights to bear arms with a lot of the legislation that is being proposed. And that's one of the things when I came up here last year and spoke in front of a Senate committee, I was trying to explain to the senators that the law that they were trying to pass would do nothing to stop criminals from the very actions that they do. And by their very definition, criminals do not obey the law. Right. And the Second Amendment protects those of us law-abiding citizens and gives us the right to bear arms.
And you know what you're talking about because you have had a long law enforcement background.
Yes, I spent over 17 years as a deputy sheriff in Orange County, Florida. I've seen a lot of things in my career, and I have a husband who is on the wall at Judiciary Square here in Washington, D.C., along with a lot of my friends. And it's very sad to come up and visit that wall and know that I know so many on that wall, and even one of my loved ones.
Well, Congresswoman, when you talk about criminals getting weapons, what's frustrating to me is every time that there's new legislation to restrict the ownership of firearms, what I keep thinking is a criminal isn't going to buy and register a firearm legally. How do we get this across to the people who write and make the laws?
Well, a lot of politicians use this issue as a wedge issue, and it shouldn't be. What they should be doing is making sure that the current laws on the books are enforced. enforce the laws that are currently on the books, enforce the reporting requirements and the NICS reporting uniformly from state to state, require the states to assist other states when they're trying to charge someone with illegally getting a firearm. You know, the people, they call them the liars on the form, the ones that shouldn't be allowed but based on their criminal history. We're not going after those people. And those are the ones that are reoffending.
Congresswoman, another thing that kind of frustrates me, and this might be a little controversial, the shootings that we've had in schools, in movie theaters, in most on college campuses. Congresswoman, these shootings happen in gun-free zones.
Yes, and on the panel today, my heart goes out to those families. That should have never happened. But we need to look at the root causes of those shootings. What was it? And a lot of these issues had mental health issues involved. And also, you know, one of those shootings happened where the person went different place than where to a gun-free theater, past other theaters that weren't gun-free. So, as the sheriff said, that you place that gun-free up, it's almost like an open invitation to the criminals that you're not going to be challenged back.
Congresswoman, you just said a mouthful, but I think you hit the point right at its center. It is so very important to think about these mass shootings from a practical perspective. If there's one person in that theater that has a gun and is a law-abiding citizen, they can take the shooter down and stop the massacre from happening. Talk to us from a law enforcement perspective about that kind of a thought, about that kind of a dream, perhaps.
Well, I think that law enforcement, and if you look, there was a study done, and they spoke to over, I think, 15,000 current and former law enforcement officers. A supermajority of them believe that having concealed carry weapons in law-abiding citizens, having those concealed carry licenses, having law-abiding citizens have their weapons, that is a deterrent. And they believe that that is one of the reasons that the violent crime has gone down as gun ownership has gone up. Law enforcement recognizes that law-abiding citizens are an asset.
I love that you say that, and I hope that we can get more people in law enforcement to help us with the policy surrounding gun ownership. I think education is important, perhaps from a law enforcement perspective and from a policy perspective. We can talk a little bit today on the show about this gun education. I think some people are concerned about gun accidents when they talk about gun ownership among law-abiding people. And I think education can make those accidents less frequent and perhaps eliminate them altogether.
Well, I believe that if you're going to have a firearm in your home, you need to be educated on that firearm, how it works, how it operates, how to clean it, how to safely clean it. And you need to make sure that everyone in that home is also educated. Because as a law enforcement officer for over 17 years and a single parent for most of that time, I had a firearm in my house with my child in the house with me. She was educated on the fact that this was not a toy, this is not something you pick up and play with, and you do not touch it. And so it's important to educate everyone, including our youth, about the responsible ownership of a firearm.
Well, I'm going to turn it over now to my co-host Sharon Engel, who I know is ready to speak to you on this issue too.
Oh, I am. I just came back from California, where their policy is catch and release on people who have mental that are in prison for different crimes, and they said that their crimes are actually going up because of this policy that we can't seem to afford to keep them in prison any longer, so we just catch them and release them. But also, I live in Nevada, where we had the latest school shooting in Sparks, and my son is a teacher. We're talking about, should we arm our teachers or allow our teachers to carry concealed within the classroom to protect their students? Where do you Where do you fall on that sort of a legislation or issue? Because it seems like we have told everyone that our schools are now gun-free zones, and it seems to have precipitated situations like Sandy Hook, where we're really defenseless, and our children are defenseless. So talk to us about the school shooting situation, and should we allow our teachers to carry concealed?
Well, I always go back to the fact that we have victims in each and every one of these shootings, and my heart really is out to those families. This is something that we never, ever should forget, is there are victims. Now, it's a personal decision on whether or not you want to arm yourself. And with that decision comes responsibility. And I think that each community needs to work within their process and make that decision based on each community. Now, law enforcement, if they have the ability, you see law enforcement officers in a certain amount of schools. But as you know, budgets are really horrendous lately. And public safety budgets aren't exactly sometimes the top of the list, although they should be, because as our Constitution says, the safety of our citizens is one of our top priorities of government. So it's just a reality, the budgets all across this nation. And police cannot be everywhere at every time, every minute of the day. And that's why I believe the good sheriff, when he said that people in his district needed to be sure to, if they wanted, to arm themselves and help protect.
Congressman, what about the possibility of, just like we have air marshals, retired police? Police today retire at a very early age. For instance, the chief of police in a town not too far from me retired at 46 years of age and took a job in security. Do you think that schools should hire former policemen to protect the children, armed policemen to protect our children in schools?
Now, that's a decision, again, that each school district needs to make.
But the school district should have the ability to be able to make that choice.
That would be something that each school district, and, you've got the school boards, then you have the others, and it's going to be a budgetary issue, and I think that's what it all comes down to. I look, and I'll give you a scenario. When I was a law enforcement officer in an area, I patrolled this one area, and it was several miles. And from one end to the other, it could take me anywhere from 20 to 30, maybe even 45 minutes, depending. I was the only deputy in that zone, so to speak, throughout the whole 10 hours, unless I called for help, and then I had to hope that someone could get close enough to me in time. Now that area is covered by 4 squads, and it's a complete sector all of its own, and the squads are 8 people, 8-member squads. So that just tells you the enormity of the coverage that you need to have. And agencies across this nation are filling budget issues. So what we have is the ability by our Constitution, the right to bear arms, and for those people who can legally own firearms, the law-abiding citizens who wish to do so, then their rights should not be infringed upon.
Congresswoman, I think that it is very prudent for us in all levels of government to seek out those who are most experienced and most educated on an issue, those who have independent, perhaps personal or professional experience with an issue, to obtain the policy that's most effective, the policy that actually accomplishes the result that we're intending to accomplish. And I can't think of a better subject matter on which policy, but this Second Amendment issue and the gun ownership rights of law-abiding citizens. Do you think there's a possibility that you could lead law enforcement nationally in helping to create a policy and perhaps educating law-abiding citizens about how to assist police in being that asset that you talk about without harming themselves or being a risk?
I think that there's a lot of good people who could do that, and I'm willing to assist in any way I can. I think that Americans, we have a Constitution, And I believe that any elected official should abide by our Constitution. And there's many issues in our Constitution that are having issues today. The Second Amendment seems to be the one that is mostly the easiest target. And I'm saddened by that, because if we're going to create laws, we need to make sure that the laws that we're going to create are actually going to address the issue, that are just not going to be some kind of window dressing that actually does more harm than good. And we need to get back to enforcing the laws that are on the books currently today. And I think if we do both of those things, that we can come to a good solution for law-abiding citizens and the ability for them to protect themselves and their families. I keep thinking back about the young woman in, I believe it was Georgia, who locked doors and went upstairs and locked another door, and the criminal came through all 3 locked doors to get to her and her child. And she, thank goodness, had just learned by her, I think she'd just been taught by her husband how to handle the firearm, and she shot her attacker. I believe she unloaded her revolver and it hit him 5 times, but he was still able to go out of the house and get in the car and drive down the street. Now, what if there would have been two attackers? You know, I just believe that as law-abiding citizens, you should have the right that is given to you by the Second Amendment to bear arms and protect yourself and your family.
Well, now you bring up the Constitution, which says we have the right to keep and bear arms, and it shall not be abridged. All right. But in every state but Vermont, I believe, it has been abridged by gun control. And it seems to come from a very leftist philosophy of government. They seem to think that they have to protect us better than we can protect ourselves, or have to protect us from ourselves, perhaps, with all of this gun control. And many of us live in states that are dominated by those kinds of politicians. How do we convince them that the Second Amendment needs to not only be enforced, but not abridged upon by this gun control? How do we get good gun laws in our states? And sometimes even I am offended, I think, even by the CCW law that requires me to register my weapon, tell the criminal what I've got in my house, tell him just how armed I am, and also to say that somehow I have to pay a NICS charge. That's what we have. We have a tax of $25 that allows me to have my own gun. We also have open carry in Nevada, so I've been thinking about just openly carrying it so I can get around those gun control laws. What do you say about that when we have, like I said, liberal politicians controlling our states and putting more and more controls on our Second Amendment? How do we fight back?
Well, that's what the ballot box is for. You need to fight back in the ballot box. And people need to stand up for their rights, and that's how they do it, through the ballot box. Now, in Florida, I was the one as a state legislator that, passed a bill to say that our concealed weapons holders, permit holders, yes, you could know the number, but you couldn't know their name and address, and therefore, because we saw it all across the nation, was starting to pop up where people were being harassed because they had a concealed carry permit. But more so, then they became targets for the criminals who wanted to come over while they were at work and maybe see what they had. So there is things that you can do to preserve the rights given to us in our Constitution. But the main thing that you've just hit upon is the fact that it has to be done in the ballot box, because if they won't listen to you, then the only way to change it is to change the people sitting in those seats.
And we're joined here on the Conservative Commandos radio show by Congresswoman Sandy Adams. Congresswoman Adams, what I find frustrating is when I try to sit home and watch television, and I'm flipping through the channels, and I see buku violence, gun violence, physical violence, and when we find out about these shooters, like the shooter up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. Here is a young man that lived in his mother's basement, watched violent video games 12 hours a day, and then go out and perpetrate the crimes that they see on video games, on television, in movies, in music. But we never hear any cries about we have to control what's coming out of Hollywood, only that we have to control people who legally own guns.
I think that there is definitely a mental illness issue here that needs to be discussed. And I think that that's a piece of the issue that has gotten the least amount of discussion, and it needs to be discussed. Because over the years, when the institutions were closed and people were sent out on their own, a lot of them found that they didn't have a place to go. We have a huge homeless community of people who have mental illness. And we have large populations of mentally ill within our prison systems, in our jails. And that's really not the place for them, but is where they've ended up based on, the crimes or what has precipitated. And therefore, we need to have a better discussion, because if you look at a lot of these shootings, they were perpetrated by people who had mental illness.
Well, Congresswoman Adams, I'm really very pleased that you're joining us here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. It's obvious that our Constitution's under attack. It's obvious that the Second Amendment is on the top of the list. I'm so glad that you came to talk to us about that today. I hope you heard the Congresswoman, listeners, when she told you how to deal with this issue. Go to the ballot box. We here at Conservative Commandos Radio Show are constantly reminding you that we the people are in charge, and that we need to direct our government. And you heard it from our guest here at CPAC at the Gaylord in National Harbor. And it's CPAC 2014, and we are gearing up for elections in 2014. And I hope that you heed Congresswoman Adams' suggestion that you vote for your gun rights at the ballot box.
Congresswoman, how can our listeners follow what you're doing?
Well, right now we are thinking about putting our website back up, but we still have Twitter. We still have the website name. It's sandyadams.com. It probably will come online really soon. I have enjoyed my time away from Congress this last year and a half. I've had some time with family, which I hadn't had the opportunity to do in the last 12 years. So it's been enjoyable, but at the same time, I've stayed engaged. I want to continue the fight. I know that it's important. It's important for me. It's important for my daughter and my children, and it's important for my granddaughter.
Right.
And I want our children, our grandchildren, their children and grandchildren to have the same freedoms and opportunities that I was afforded. And I believe that that can happen. We are struggling right now as a nation, but I believe that America is strong and will be stronger.
One last question, if I could. What is more frustrating for you? To be on the inside and see what's going on, or to be on the outside and seeing what's going on? What's more frustrating?
That is a hard choice. I think they're both frustrating at different levels at different times.
Well, Congresswoman, it's great to meet you in person. It's great to have you back on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I personally missed you because we had you on several times while you were in office, and God bless, and keep up the great work. Keep spreading the word out there. We need it.
And thanks for staying engaged. We need your leadership.
Thank you very much. God bless you all.
God bless you, too. All right, well, that just about takes us to the end of our show. I want to thank Sharon Engel for sitting in as my co-host today. But for now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on the radio with Congressman Louis Gohmert.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360. and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Newsmakers go to be heard.